You sure you want to go through with this? Yeah.
I'm so glad to welcome Christiane Brew today to the podcast. Really excited to spend the next, hour or so. We'll see how long we go before we wear each other out. Christiane Brew, welcome. Thank you for joining me today.
Hello.
A woman of so many words.
Thank you for having me. I'm a woman of little words, which is an absolute lie.
You mean tiny words, like short words or few words?
No, none of the above. I can witter on for days.
You just rather do Pictionary all day.
Oh, that's an idea.
Right? So Christiane Brew, improviser, actress, comedian, storyteller, consultant, and coach. Is that about right?
Oh, that's most of everything. Yeah.
And obviously, your accent would suggest that you're from a different country than I am. So,
yes, I'm from Cambridge. So
Cambridge,
born and bred in Cambridge, and that's the England Cambridge as opposed to the other one over the other side.
Well, that one doesn't count. Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
At least not for today.
It doesn't. My Cambridge was there first.
Well, that's all I need to hear. So, so our friend from across the pond, as we Americans would say, and you and I are continuing to repair the breach from our long history together.
Indeed.
Reuniting our countries.
Indeed.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Well, now we have a king, so it's great.
You have a king?
Well, he thinks he is.
Oh. I really want to swear. I was like, a king, but yeah. I shan't.
I just found out he has ultimate power. But this isn't a political show.
No.
This is meant to be fun. We're talking about life, leadership, and laughter. Mm-hmm. And so I really wanted to talk to you. I wanted to spend this time with you in a conversation because I find you, number one, hilarious. And not just hilarious, but a real human being. You know, there's people who kind of put up a front of their whatever it is they do, and maybe they kind of hide behind it. But you are all out there. You really get vulnerable. You put yourself out there. I think the first time I ever, and if you recall, we actually got to work together one time in a video production.
Was that's when we met?
No, we met at Improvizilla.
We did. You sat over on the snooker table area.
Snooker table? What's that?
The pool table. Sorry.
Snooker.
Snooker. It must be very British.
Yeah,
billiards. Billiards, I think people call it.
I think we share that term, billiards. I think that goes across pretty well. Anyway, so I forgot where we were. So basically, where are we? Cambridge, leadership, laughter.
Get it.
Improvizilla.
That's it. Get it together, Matt.
Yes. We're bringing it back. Improvizilla. So I think another mutual friend of ours invited, he's one of the performers there as well, or was getting into it at the time, kind of new. And I remember seeing you perform on the stage at Improvizilla. And I remember immediately, and this isn't just, this is really true. I remember thinking, wow, that woman is really talented. She's funny. She's quick as a whip. And it's been a joy to get to know you better and talk with you today. So tell us about, what is, for people who don't know, Improvizilla, what is that all about?
Improvizilla is an improv show that happens the last Friday of every month at one of the oldest music venues in Tokyo, actually, called the Crocodile Club. And it's called the Crocodile Club because it's got a crocodile on the ceiling and at the back of the stage. I don't know what came first, the name or the crocodile. I'm not sure. So Improvizilla show.
It was just a crocodile in the middle of Tokyo, and they were like, let's build a venue around this.
Yeah, let's give it a home.
Let's give the crocodile a home.
Validate it. Validate the crocodile.
Even a crocodile, needs to be, because they get a bad rap, really.
They do.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
They're very snappy.
Very, despite the sharp teeth, they're tender, loving creatures.
I'm sure they're not. I wouldn't want to. Anyway.
No.
Yeah, so
Boots.
Improvzilla. An improv show where we take suggestions from the audience and then we make up a scene. So we do a story. It's narrative-based, narrative, relationships, emotions. And in the second half, we have an improvised musical. So we sing.
I didn't realize that because when I went, I thought it was all improv. You know, my kind of vantage point as a just kind of a fan and viewer of comedy, but not a professional in any sense. You know, I think of sketch shows that I'm used to in the U.S., like Saturday Night Live. What's the one in Chicago? Second City. And other ones, you know, there was in Living Color back in the, was that 90s? They did some really funny stuff. Yeah. So I thought it was kind of like that. And then there was this musical and I thought, oh, this must be like a special, like secondary thing that they do. But what I'm realizing is that musical is actually a fixture as part of it. So you have to be able to kind of be musical in addition to funny. I'm not super musical. I grew up, I played the violin, the recorder, as did everyone. The recorder, not the violin. Yeah. Violin, recorder, and then trombone. So I could read music when I was younger, and I love music. I dance. I used to be a podium dancer at raves. That's in another podcast, folks. That's going to be in our nighttime broadcast. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've always been very musical and I pretend I can sing. I used to be in the choir, church choir, school choir. But then as you get older and your voice changes, I've kind of lost it a bit. But to be honest, I don't care. I commit. When I used to get really self-conscious, and I remember first doing the musicals and I was like, oh my God, I feel so scared, so vulnerable. I want to do this again. So that the fear of fucking up completely on stage and making a fool of myself just kept me going. The fear is still there. I'm a little bit better when it comes to singing, but I'll never be pro. I just enjoy it.
Yeah, but I mean, well, okay, there's the pro singing, but about the fear, I feel like fear kind of comes with being a pro at anything. Like if you don't have the fear, you don't care, or you're so out of touch with your consciousness that you can't learn.
100%.
It's almost like the fear becomes a learning device, even though fear can be really bad too. The wrong kind of fear can be debilitating, but in people like yourself. So when you go on stage, like you feel that fear still, even though you've been doing it for quite a while now.
And if I don't, it means I'm disconnected, and I sometimes struggle to reconnect. Over the years, I've tried to find ways to reconnect to the present, and being an improviser is all about being present and living in the moment. So I think the key thing is being aware of how you are with your surroundings and then trying to change that so you can reconnect and be present and feel that fear instead of burying it, which is where the issues come for civilians, shall I say. Civilians bury stuff and get on with their lives. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Oh, I think, yeah. I mean, I relate to that. Like, I mean, it's a survival mechanism that we all have to use sometimes. You got to you might see something that's triggering you or your limbic system's acting up or whatever, and you've got to just move on and deal with whatever. And then the problem is if you stay in that, you know, for protracted periods or some, years, then you're actually, you're going to atrophy emotionally. Somebody arrested. To learn and grow, we have to eventually, as you said, we have to let that thing come out and deal with it.
Oh God, yeah.
And then we can grow. Yeah. And it sounds like improv is a great way to do that if you put the work into it.
Yeah. Yeah. And is it easy? Is it hard? I don't know. I've been playing for so many years. We don't have improv in England.
Really?
But yeah, when I came to Japan, I realized that a lot of the Americans I played with did it. I did it in college. I did it here. I did it there. Oh my God.
You're too good at that, really.
And you had all these different schools. And I'm like, well, what did England have? Oh, we had the theatre, darling. So England is... I was improvising from a very early age, but I didn't know that's what it was. I was just having fun with myself and playing, trying to irritate my sister, probably.
Yeah.
And my parents and the whole family and the dog.
How'd you do with that irritation? Did you succeed?
Oh, usually.
Yeah,
usually.
Haven't spoken to him in 20 years.
I've got a little bit about my first joke ever.
Oh, yeah.
And it starts off with, I've always been an attention seeker, and I would normally stand in front of the television if I came up with a song or I just wanted to dance or I wanted some attention. I'd go and stand in front of the television when the whole family was watching. And my bit talks about murder, mystery, suspense, which was an old British program, which... If you don't know what it's about murder, mystery, and suspense.
Wow, truth in advertising. That's no marketing agency needed for that one. Yeah,
Not at all.
Yeah.
So my parents would constantly say, "Oh, Christy, get out of the way, Christy." So that was constant, but I was getting attention. I'm revealing too much of myself, but then that goes into the bit about how we'd go to holiday camps. And then they'd let me loose, and the talent show would be the ultimate thing on a Friday, and that would the fancy dress show was a big thing for me, and the talent show on a Friday, and I was like, yes, this is my time.
Wait, the fancy dress show.
Do you not have fancy dress in America?
No.
Oh my!
We wear burlap sacks, and we still have wagons.
What's a burlap sack?
Oh, burlap. Oh, it's a classic sort of hemp-like, it's kind of like hemp. It's like this really scratchy, the big sacks of like coffee and tea and stuff like the classic old, like you'd see on a Broadway set, on the stage. It'd be big burlap sacks.
Yeah. Coffee shop owners who have buns in their hair, they put those on the wall, don't they, to make it look...
Yes, they make it look rustic.
Yeah, rustic.
We get our beans from... the
Guatemala.
jungles of, yeah. 3 people died last year getting those beans.
Oh my God, that's too close to the truth.
It is kind of too sorry about that. Sometimes humor can be a great channel for unvarnished truth.
Raising issues in 2020.
Well, isn't that what jokes are largely about? Isn't it bringing humor to a truth? Even if everything around the joke is fabricated, it's revealing or making some kind of truth come out. Yeah.
And I think the British are quite good at the dark humour and making light of dark situations. Like, stiff upper lip. There's one.
It's only a flesh wound.
It's only a flesh wound. Come back here. Come back here, I say. Yeah. I've still got my head.
You've barely nicked me.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant scene. Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. That's why we all know it. That's why everybody, probably around the world, everybody knows those scenes are so iconic.
For those in the world that don't know, we're talking about Monty Python.
If you don't know that scene and you're listening to this podcast, you need to stop right now and go get Holy Grail and I would say Life of Brian and what's the one
Holy
about?
Grail.
Holy Grail. Life of Brian is my favorite, though. I absolutely love Life of Brian.
He's
mean,
not
come
the
on.
Messiah. He's a very
He's not-
naughty boy.
I mean, talk about the best blasphemy ever. You know,
Awesome.
it's just brilliant stuff. Yeah. Yeah. What was the one about, I don't know why it's super famous. The one where John Cleese is a sex ed teacher. The Meaning of Life. Every sperm is sacred. All those great songs. Catholic family that just keeps having more babies. Yeah, it's good stuff.
John Cleese.
Anyway.
Awesome.
So we're talking about improv.
John Cleese, educated in Cambridge, played at Footlights. Footlights was a very famous comedy club. So there's been a lot of greats that have gone through Footlights. So again, growing up, I didn't really understand comedy and comedy scene. And I didn't understand the significance that these guys were playing at a place that I used to go and get cocktails on a Saturday afternoon after shopping. And they used to play there in the evening. And so it was like, bah! Well, they didn't because they'd moved on. But
Right.
I was there. Yeah, I guess
so
it's
you
like...
realized afterward, kind of the connection.
Yeah. Anyway, I witter on. I digress.
Well, this whole thing is about wittering on. So
Okay.
you teach me so many great terms. So we're talking about Improvizilla. You're a cast member there, and just do a lot of great stuff with that. There's a lot. I think one of the things that, working with leaders as we do at my company and just in life, and then living day to day, I immediately, when I went to that show the first time, I think I've been 2 or 3 times. And in fact, we were on stage one time. We got to do one of the skits. My wife and I were up on stage.
You did, didn't
we
you?
We did. We were. It was a great bit about someone else speaking my part or my wife's part. Something like creating our history together. But the improv person had to kind of make it up as they went along, and we gave them cues as to whether they were doing it right or not.
With a hooter or a bell.
Something like that. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that was it.
It's probably something called First Date or
First meeting, first date, something like that.
Yeah.
And it was crazy because without any information, it was Donna. She got our story. I mean, it was pretty close.
Wow.
It was freaky. So if you're ever wondering how these so-called psychics do it, the famous ones that make tons of money, it's not that hard.
It's not that hard. I've always thought Donna was a witch.
Ah, that's what it is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Donna, if you're listening, we're on to you.
Yeah, we're on to you, gal.
We're on to you.
Donna's amazing.
Yeah.
I love her.
She's really good.
She's like a sister, auntie, super female support in Tokyo because it's so hard to be a woman here. It really is hard
What's
in
up
any
with that?
country. Well,
what is when you say that, and I believe you. I'm curious from your point of view what that means.
Well, imagine. Well, you probably can't because you're so young. But imagine life in the 1960s for women in England. That's probably similar to what it is here in Japan. So things like when I used to work in the teaching business years ago when I first came here, the coordinators wouldn't listen to my ideas, but they would listen to the male teachers' ideas, even though those ideas were the same as mine. And I started to pick up on it, and I thought, "Oh, that's weird." I've always been listened to because back in England, I was sort of senior management level in a global company, so people have to listen to me because I'm senior to them. And then I came here, and I was like, "Oh, I'm nothing here. Right, let's change that." So it's this constant battle of getting the balance right between shouting loud enough and making sure the words that or the actions that I do are respectable and valued enough Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. There's a lot of layers of that here. I mean, it really is about finding, in my experience, it's I mean, most of my work now is in the States and in other English speaking countries. And so it's a different dynamic, but yeah, I'm sure there's another layer being female as well. That brings another layer of, difficulty in that challenge in that sense.
Yeah.
And, so how about being a female? There's some specials on Netflix about, and some comedy bits about, women aren't funny, I think is the name of one of them. It's very, very funny woman comedian.
Was that produced by a man?
No, it was, although I think she felt like that's what a lot of men were saying for years. And so she just took that and she took that inside voice and just put it out there and made a comedy special about it.
Good for her.
But what is it like? Is being, I mean, some experiences as human beings, I feel like it's like we all share certain things, and some things don't really have to do with gender, and then or identity. They're human, and then there are clearly, I'm not a denier in any sense, and then there are clearly things that do cross into that. So, in terms of being a female. Is it comedian? Is that this comedian?
Yeah, I consider myself an actor as opposed to an actress because it's just easier. And comedian as opposed to a comedienne. I think
those are kind of antiquated terms. It seems like
gender neutral, because there's you have you have they pronoun. So.
Right.
If we just have one noun, actor, then everybody can use it.
Yeah, it's more inclusive, right?
Yeah. Easy.
I mean, when you're on stage, whether you're, particularly the live performances, I mean, the acting, it seems like, is a whole other category, because that would influence the kind of parts that you get based on being male or female or, whatever, right? I mean, there's that, and that feels like that's a whole other topic. But just in terms of live performance and the feedback you're getting from the audience, how does your gender identity impact what you feel like you can do as a comedian?
As an improviser, for me, anything goes. I love coming on as a man. I love being a man, because playing men is super fun. You see men come on as women all the time, admittedly. Right. Sometimes they really don't get it right and they really camp it up. So it becomes a caricature as opposed to a believable character. I appreciate believable characters. But if the scene requires a caricature, then I can very happily be a caricature. I'm quite adaptable, really. I love being silly, but I also love playing for the truth, emotional truth. I love that. In terms of the stand-up that I do, it's a tricky scene, I think, even in the States. I know female comedians over there, and they still have a hard time over there. In Tokyo, we have a few issues because Tokyo is like a bubble. So I think sometimes people forget that they should respect women. They've become used to the environment that they're living in. Women are as funny. If anything, I think we're a little bit more willing to try new things. And it's oh God, this is such a can of worms.
We love worms here.
Yeah.
Open that can.
I had ringworm
I'm sure
once.
we can find something funny about it.
Oh, there is. Oh, something like, so women, if we have a bad set, it's harder for us to get back up because the men sometimes are not super kind, but some are very supportive. So I think as a female in comedy in Tokyo, you need to choose who you listen to, choose who you hear.
Okay.
There's a lot of people that offer their feedback straight after a set. I didn't ask for it, so I used to be like, yeah, you're right. And now I'm like, no, I don't want to hear it. Thank you, though. Have a nice night. So
Right.
I think basically I give less fucks now. That's really what it is.
Right.
Because I know more about who I am as a comedian. I'm still growing, I'm still learning, but I know that if you don't try new things, then you're not going to discover the thing that really floats your boat
Right.
and brings you joy. And that's what it is. If you're doing stand-up and it doesn't bring you joy, or you're doing improv or any sort of comedy, if it doesn't bring you intrinsic joy when you're doing it, don't do it. Or you're doing something that's wrong for you. You've got the wrong voice. You need to find your authentic voice. And you can only do that by trying, failing, trying again, etc.
Yeah. Channel the joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ignore the negativity. Try your hardest to ignore the negativity. Find people who don't pander to you or don't put you up on a pedestal or say the things that you want to hear. Find honest people that you can trust who give you valuable feedback, constructive.
You know, that's reminding me. So my friend and colleague, Tasha Yurick, who wrote the book Insight, she has another brilliant book that predates that called Bankable Leadership. But in Insight, it's all about self-awareness. And of course, you know, what we do is we have systems and tools that on the company side, I'm not here as a representative of the company necessarily, but just in terms of what we work with leaders on, a lot of it's, you know, feedback. And I loved what Tasha wrote about in terms of, you know, you have to have external feedback to grow. You have to. You'll never be self-aware without it. But you want to choose who you receive that feedback from carefully. And it isn't just, I'm an open book and I'm an open receiver. You know, just everybody fire, because we are sensitive beings. And also, it isn't always coming from kindness. It isn't always even valuable. It isn't, you know, technically feedback is neutral, but we're also human. Or I should say agnostic. Someone's feedback is often a reflection of them as much or more as it is any kind of value on you. And at the same time, it's really hard to take that in if we don't feel love behind it. At least that's my experience. So the love has got to be there. And I mean love in the broadest sense. Like, there's got to be some kind of compassion there. How do you decide who you listen to? Who do you listen to? And who do you listen to and why?
Is that a question?
I know I talked a lot and then I didn't.
You sort of
I'm just curious who you know, the thing about being a performer of any sort is that you're out there all the time. And this is true for leaders too. I mean, you're out on stage literally and figuratively all the time. So you couldn't just walk around all day receiving feedback on what people thought of your latest, you know, how you facilitated a meeting, how you did the speech. It can't just be constantly feedback. Conversations, that is. And yet you absolutely have to get the feedback to get better. So it's that kind of tension between, I don't know if tension's the right word, but you know, you need to have sort of the self-confidence to be vulnerable and to keep taking risks to learn and grow and get the right feedback at the right time. So what do you do to make sure you've kept that balance right so that you're kind of healthfully progressing?
So I think it's a case of over time. There are certain people in the community, and I know what type of feedback they will give. So if I'm looking for something super honest, like no holds barred, then I will ask certain people. And from that feedback, not all of it is relevant. I'll take what I need. And that's not just the positive bits. It's the I can use that. So it's giving somebody the airspace to voice their opinion and then taking what you need from that. But I think you need to be self-aware and strong in order to do that. There are other people in the community that I know will phrase something in such a way because they're more self-aware, they're more empathic, and they have a good grip on comedy and joke writing and performance. And they word it in such a way as, I noticed you were different this week. What's going on? Which opens up a conversation. Or instead of saying things like, what I would do is, they would say, I'd really love it if you could expand on that bit there.
Right.
And that points you in the right direction. The other thing for feedback, for me, I'll listen to myself and I'll watch myself, and I hate it. I hate it. It's gross. Except for my cooking show. I'm transfixed on my cooking show on watching the replays of that. It's weird.
Oh my God. That
really
is hysterical.
Weird. Yeah.
Yeah. You've got, so Christiane has been doing a baking show. Can we say baking? I mean, it's baking, right?
Yeah, baking,
it's not really
baking,
cooking.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet stuff, like me.
It's like, you've done how many now? 2?
Oh, 3.
3? Is it 3 already?
Yeah, I've done 3 now.
Oh, you're right, because you did muffins the first time.
Yeah, it was a one-off.
Yeah, and then you didn't have the right muffin tins. So you get to all the you get through all the batter and everything, and then you didn't have the muffin tin. It's kind of hard to make muffins without the proper tin, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and you're laughing the whole way, making a mess. It was really fun. Quarantine foibles and baking with Christiane Brew.
It's super fun. It's super fun.
Yeah.
And
so you can watch yourself doing the baking. Sorry, I interrupted.
I was going to say I am super organized. I can produce a festival. I can produce shows. I can look at the overall picture. I can look at the details. In England, I was paid a lot of money in order to do that. And since coming to Tokyo, the show production side of things has really fine-tuned. So there I am baking, and I've got all my ingredients, but, there's that one thing that I haven't got, which is the actual muffin tin. Yeah. But every single week, something has gone wrong, which I consider a gift, because how boring if everything goes right, hey?
Oh, I mean, really?
Blah. Yeah, and that's where the fun is, because I never know what's going to happen. And I think my nickname for the last show was Christiane. Well, that went longer than I thought. Brew. Because they're meant to be 1 hour long, but they go on for like 2 hours. And I'm thinking,
2 hours, right.
How did I manage that? But things will happen. So the first week, I broke the whisk because I'm obviously super strength. The second week, I was blending oranges, and I blended the wooden spatula into the oranges by accident. So I was
adding a bit of nutty taste and fiber
something
to
like
the end
that.
product. Yeah.
But I didn't realise it was happening until I looked at the spatula and I thought, oh, that's weird. And I saw in the mixture, I was like, oh, there's little black bits in there. What's happened here then? And then it dawned on me. And of course, the audience could see everything happening. And then they saw the realization happen. And then they saw me picking bits of wood out of the mixture. And then what happened last week? Last week I did my first duo show with a professional baker. And it was carrot cake for Easter, and my mixture turned into soup because I put too much liquid in it. And so even the professional baker, it was a competition, so she wanted to win, obviously. even the professional baker, you could hear the pity in her voice as she says, "Oh,
pity for you.
darling, I don't know if that's going to work."
I mean, to be fair, you're managing the whole thing. You're managing, you're managing the feed and all of that, and you're baking on top of that. That's sort of an unfair fight.
It is really.
I think you get to start. It's kind of like it's terrible in golf. They have the where you tee off, either here or closer to the hole, or I think you should get some kind of starting point that's different, just because you got to manage all that other stuff.
I disagree. I think the show has become about putting myself at an unfair advantage from the beginning and seeing if I can get back the advantage.
Ah, right.
And that carrot soup turned into probably the best cake I have ever made. It was so moist.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's the, oh my God, will she? No. I've just realised people can't see, can they?
No.
No.
That's so literally and figuratively true. We're all trying to see better. No, I mean, so we were talking about how you get feedback. And actually, interestingly, that daily kind of hang out with Christiane and watch her bake and break stuff into the cake and catch up from way behind and still produce something edible and delicious. You're getting kind of real-time feedback through the comments. Because people are saying, oh, no, don't do that. Do this. Add more of this. Oh, no, that's all wrong. Cinnamon, no cinnamon, But I don't know, maybe I don't make every connection back to leading teams, but I just think there's so much rich value in, I learned from my business partner who has since passed away, but I learned a lot of things from him. And one of the things that he drilled into my head was that every strength must become, he didn't say will become, might become, he said must become a weakness if overused. And so it's like all these, knowing what my strengths are is great, and knowing what I'm naturally good at is great. But number one, that doesn't mean I can't get better at it. Mm-hmm. And in fact, some of the strengths-based stuff, it's like, no, those are the things you should focus on getting better at, and also getting feedback on where I maybe am overusing. You can be overly organized to the point of restricting flexibility, restricting creativity and innovation. I mean, you're a perfect example of how it's the stuff that's unpredictable that comes in and messes up your plan that allows you to see what you've really got, which is what I think is beautiful about improv from what I've seen. Improv, really, especially improv, right? Because it's improvisational. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I feel like every leader should probably look into doing some improv from time to time just to get a sense of what that feels like.
Oh my God. Leaders, team members, it's such a valuable skill set. You've got people that just won't come out of their heads in meetings. They're just so fixed and focused on one thing. Or they want their idea. Well, let's think about expanding the bucket, so to speak, to accept other people's ideas and collaborate better. And
right.
So that's what I do with when I worked in India. I worked in India on and off for a few years. I worked with teams over there, sales teams over there. And it was fantastic to watch them go, oh, right, okay, I understand more now. And they can work with their clients better. I do it here in Tokyo, but you can't really say it's applied improv because they're less open to the new way of doing things. So I have to slide it in under the communications training. And they've never had so much fun in a communications workshop.
As long as you don't call it improv.
Yeah.
So you call it a communications workshop, but then you use it as a technique.
Yeah.
And then people can take that on. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like my housemate. He hates cinnamon, but he loved my carrot cake. He said he loves it. And I said, you do know it's got cinnamon in it. And he was rather shocked. So maybe he likes cinnamon more than he thinks.
I think you have introduced cinnamon into his system in a way that may change his life forever.
I think so. To him, it's poison, but it's pleasant poison.
It's beautiful poison. He's going to be lapping up cinnamon by the bucket load before he knows it. By the way, do we agree? Does cinnamon and orange? This was a bit of a. Does cinnamon and orange go together? And I contend that it does, although you got to keep the levels balanced, right? Otherwise, the cinnamon just beats the crap out of the orange. What's your position on cinnamon and orange as a flavor combination?
Well, to be honest, I was going to put cinnamon in the orange anyway, but for the purpose of including the listeners and making it more fun for them, to make them feel like they're creating something, that's when I put the idea out to them. And people were like, yes, no. And they got really passionate about it. And then my boyfriend put the most intellectual comment there with a reason why. And I was like, okay, I'm going with him. I want him to cook me dinner on Friday. So
I was going to say, you had ulterior motives, though.
Yeah. But the cinnamon, it didn't change the cake. It didn't change the flavor. It
didn't taste anything different.
No, it just made it brown.
Well, maybe if you weren't pulling cinnamon from 6 years ago out of the cupboard, you'd taste it.
I'll have you know that's only 2 years old.
I think it's like 6 months on the spices, although I'm guilty of that too. It's hard to be. No. I mean, who uses, you don't use massive batches of cayenne usually, right? So my cayenne is like a year old in there. It still tastes pretty good though.
My Indian spices I haven't been to India for 18 months. Yeah, they're old, but they still smell nice. They still work in my curries.
All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I need your help, Christiane.
Yes. How can I help you?
We talked improv, comedy, leadership. So I've taken the leadership. How's that for a transition? Did you have a thought?
I was just about to say, can I just, I said that I've had some really good news today.
Oh my God.
And it's connected.
You didn't even tease me with it because we've gotten through this whole show. Yes. What happened?
And I don't want to, but my next cooking guest for this Sunday is El Jaguar. Now, El Jaguar is an ex-professional wrestler. He's a character. He is in fact a professional improviser Canadian. He's played with Robin Williams. He's played Second City, Keith Johnstone, and he now lives in New Zealand. And he came to Tokyo earlier this year, just before the virus hit. And he was amazing. I produced all his shows. I had him for a month, lots of different shows. And he did El Jaguar character in several different venues in Tokyo. He is hilarious. It's going to change the flavour of the show and how I work with him, because I can't be the what do you call it? The funny one, if you like, straight man,
comedic
funny
lead.
Man.
Yeah.
Because he is just levels above. But he said yes. I got the text through just before I came on the call, and he said, Derek said, I've spoken to El Jaguar and he's interested. Yes.
Oh, the alter ego is coming out to play.
I love it. I'm so excited, Matt, because...
this is exciting.
He's in full costume. He's in full wrestling costume.
Basically, you can just sit in a chair and stir some batter while he just yucks it up. Of course, that's not what you're going to do. You're going to be hilarious yourself, because you always are.
Thank you. I'm super excited.
So if you're interested in this, Christy, I'll just say, this isn't a plug for the show, but it should be, because It's Sunday nights in Japan, Tokyo time.
Yeah.
At around what was 6:30, 7?
Round about 5:30, but I might have to change the time this week for El Jaguar.
For New Zealand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So El Jaguar is in his sprawling zoo
In his
in New Zealand.
I don't know. I presume it's a large
So is
house.
it going to be earlier? Is it going to be earlier or later?
Possibly earlier, because New Zealand is 2 or 3 hours ahead.
Right. So if you start at like 5 here, it'll be later in the evening there.
Yeah.
Like 7.
Yeah. So there'll be an event on my Facebook page. It's a public event, Christiane Brew. Log
Christiane
on.
Brew. So find Christiane Brew, CHRISTIANE, right? You got to add the E.
Yeah.
Don't forget the E. Brew. And you know how to spell brew.
Brew,
It's pretty easy.
Special.
Yeah. BROUXHJ, right? Is it?
Absolutely.
Otherwise spelled as BREW.
BRUH.
Right. 6 silent letters get you to brew. So listen, Christiane, I need your help before we go today.
Yes,
because
yes.
So we're all stuck at home in semi-stages of stuckness. Right. And so I decided to get the family together. So what I did was I got a Zoom link going, and I got the family from the U.S., mostly in the Pacific Northwest. And I put him, and then my grandfather joined. Well, he sort of joined. He wasn't able to join Zoom, so he was on FaceTime being shown it was a kind of a train wreck that way. Yeah. And then his crazy neighbor was there, and it was kind of funny. But anyway, it worked pretty well. Like we got on. I said from the outset, okay, everyone, this is not like a backyard barbecue where we're all talking over each other, and it just doesn't. You can't do that online. But I thought for listeners, this could cross over into the realm of leading team meetings, have a little bit, but also particularly if you're going to put family and friends together, as this thing goes on, how do we make it more fun? So we're going to do a follow-up, Christiane, and I need to know what I can do. So the first one, we kind of went around, everybody kind of reported individually, and then we showed a few pictures, and it was fun. It was really good. It lasted over an hour. Everyone seemed to enjoy themselves, but that format's going to need to mature as we move forward. Now, you're brilliant at improvisational things and also some techniques, because I've taken a storytelling class from you as well, and Christiane is a brilliant storyteller.
Thank you.
Which every leader needs as well. So in terms of, telling your story, whatever the context, some great stuff there. What are you doing to make, kind of these online things more fun, more funny, more engaging? Anything you've seen or that you've done that you like?
Yeah. It's not about putting a format onto Zoom. It's about what works for Zoom. So it might mean finding something that works specifically well with Zoom. Zoom is a bit of a pain, but there's certain things you can do. So, for example, you can have quizzes. You can have team quizzes, for example, and you can rename yourself. There's a renaming button, if you like.
In the participants button, you can rename whatever you want, right?
Yeah, and so you choose who's on your team, and like, this is team I'm going to win. This is team sandwich, cheese sandwich, or whatever. And then you can have a quiz, and someone's a quiz master. And then for the quiz, you have to have your own buzz-in sound.
Right.
So ping pong, which is a favourite in Japan. And you could even put your family into breakout rooms.
Right.
So they can discuss tactics or something. What's our team name? Or each team can create questions for the other teams. So put them into breakout rooms. and then you all come back together. You need someone who knows what they're doing with Zoom to manage the breakout rooms. Your granddad could not do it. I don't think.
No.
No.
That would be a complete train wreck. Yeah. But that's a great idea. I love that, separating the breakout rooms. And it made me think of if there's some kind of digital version of a board game, you could actually do a board game together digitally. If you had someone controlling the pieces, you could even split up I hadn't thought of this before. You could split up into teams. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that exists, but I'll bet it does.
There must be one somewhere. Must be, yeah. Oh, in fact, Cards Against Humanity, I think, have a digital online edition.
Right.
And if you haven't played Cards Against Humanity and you are over the age of 18 and you think you're funny, everyone should do it. It's raucous fun.
Oh, my goodness. You're the second or third person that's told me about this game. I still have never done it.
Oh, my God. My stomach hurts after I've played that. And sometimes I play it on my own. Because the stuff that comes up is ridiculous. I mean, seriously, it's like, oh my God, I've got to go to the toilet, quick. Because I laugh so hard, and we need to laugh hard in times like this.
Now I've never played this game, and I don't have a clear sense of it, but could you see a team, like a business team in a team building exercise playing something like this, or is it totally inappropriate for that?
Cards Against Humanity, you need to play it with people that you know and trust, really, who aren't going to get easily offended. Because there's stuff in there about religion. Well, religious stuff could come up, political stuff could come up, sexual stuff, which, all of the above I find funny, because as far as I'm concerned, anything goes.
So what kind of business should use that as team building?
I'm thinking designers.
Designers.
They think they're funny, don't they?
They do.
I don't know.
They do. There might be a sign of humor in a design office somewhere, yeah.
But there's other, games that you can get. I bought one for my cousin for Christmas. They're just cards, and they're prompt cards. Talk about this for 1 minute. Or what do you think about this? And you put the question up, and then people share their opinion. It's quite a static order game,
right?
That would take too long. But if you want something a bit faster, one thing I love playing, it takes a bit of practice, so everyone has to number themselves, change their name to 1, 2, 3, etc. You number yourself, and you do. I've played this with you before. You can do sentence at a time story.
Right. I remember doing that. Yeah.
But we did it with a story spine. But, you could introduce the story spine, but then it turns into a lecture or a workshop. You want it to be fun if it's for family and stuff. Just, okay, guys, let's make a story up. Sentence at a time. Let's see where it goes. Don't think about it too much. Right. Okay, let's go and see where it goes.
So it's like the girl found a lobster on the street, and then it goes to you, and you say something else, right? If I recall the game right. So the girl found there was a blue lobster on the street, and then you say something back and forth. Is that how it goes?
I don't know what game
Don't you
playing.
Remember the lobster? No, but I don't remember if they were full sentences or they were almost, my recollection is they were almost fragments of sentences. But so you say a full sentence, or do you say a fragment of a sentence?
What I did with you guys was extend, advance, and story spine. So once upon a time, every day, until one day, because of that, until finally, and ever since then. Which, if anyone's interested in storytelling, just type story spine into Google and just practice.
Yeah.
I love it. Every single story you have, Pixar, movies, it's the same. They all use story spine.
Yep. Yep. They all use it. Yeah, absolutely.
Myself included.
Yourself included.
Yes.
That's your secret.
Yes.
It was out in the open all the time.
Yes. Oh, another thing. I see you've got me thinking now on ideas. So if it's a business leadership thing, business team, why not, for the sake of the meeting, change your name to a Batman, Conan the Barbarian. Choose your favourite role model or movie star. And just make sure that you call each other by those names throughout the whole meeting.
Yeah.
Because what you're doing there is you're building a memory. And so people will remember that meeting, in 2 years' time. Do you remember that time when you were Conan the Barbarian? Or it will be referred to in the future. All right, Conan, for example.
That's brilliant. You could even do themes. You could do themes where it's like there was the animal meeting. There was the classic movie meeting. There was the cruise ship meeting, where we all named ourselves after cruise ship characters.
Love it. Occupation
stuff
meeting.
Like that.
Yeah.
Occupation meeting. Yeah.
I
love that. What
is the job that you wanted to do when you were growing up? So we'd have Mrs. French lawyer. That's what I wanted to be, a French lawyer.
Yeah. I'm just going to focus on the French part over the lawyer part because I actually ended up becoming a lawyer and then
you did, yeah.
Yeah. But why the French lawyer? What is it about French lawyers that fascinates you?
Well, I think it was a case that I could get to work outside of England and speak French.
So it was a proxy for just foreign stuff, wanting to get out of England.
Yeah, I think that's where it all started, really.
It's funny, that stuff sets in early, like the wanderlust. I mean, I had that very young. And of course, my dad joined the army when I was like 4 or 5, I think. And so then we did start moving and eventually internationally. And then as an adult, I've moved internationally. So it's weird in the expat community. There's sort of this often a similarity that, oh yeah, I was always, looking out to other places, wanted to go and explore. It seems like you had that too when you were a little kid.
Yeah, but I don't think I realised until somebody validated me and said, I worked in a global company. And I would interview, I looked after the Middle East, Europe and Africa. So I'd constantly be talking to different people over continents. And somebody who used to be a TEFL teacher years and years ago, they said, you're really good when you talk to people. You change your language, you change your voice, you're very patient. Have you ever considered becoming a TEFL teacher? So here I am in a global company, earning global salary. I've got the car, I've got the house, I've got the animals, I've got everything. And I was like, no, I haven't. And then I took myself on my first 10-day solo traveling trip around Croatia, planned it all. Oh, I love planning. And I was like, that was really good for my growth. And then I got back and I got made redundant because it was Lehman Brothers, 2008.
Ah, the Lehman shock, huh?
Yeah. So guess what I did then?
Became a TEFL teacher.
Yeah. I went to London, studied in Greenwich, and I was like, right, I'm going to go and work in Saudi Arabia because I loved the Middle East, and Saudi Arabia was very Middle East. That's
incredible. So in improv, what do they call it when you pass when someone passes you something? It's like a gift.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's almost like life circumstances pass you these quote unquote gifts.
Yeah.
And what you do with it is what matters because you can't control what gets passed to you. I think that's why I love improv because you watch it in an improv. I've seen you do it so brilliantly. Someone throws you a word or they throw you a scenario and you don't push it, you accept it, you pull, and then you do something with it and try and make it more valuable than when you got it. And then pass and then pass it back or pass it along. At least that's what it looks like. Is that about right?
Exactly right. It's like somebody giving me cinnamon to put in a cake that I wasn't going to put in there in the first place, and then me giving that cake back to the person who gave it to me so they could taste it.
Right. And actually what you did is you had one cinnamon, one non-cinnamon.
Yes.
So you created actually triple the value, because now I've got a cinnamon cake, I've got a non-cinnamon cake, and I have a comparison a comparison opportunity as well. So now you sort of expanded the value of it.
Yep. Happy audience, happy boyfriends, and a very full tummy. So
that's it. I guess I feel like we could spend a week just going down so many different paths. There's improv, there's comedy. Stand-up comedy is not the same thing as improv. There's writing, there's story, there's joke writing, there's international comedy, like how to be funny in different places, because it's not the same. I mean, there's just so many. And then, of course, there's the crossover, the brilliant crossover from the business scene and all of this stuff, which the intersection of the skill sets and the value that come from comedy, improv, the self-awareness that comes with it, that is required to be a great performer, is what leaders in the 21st century, absolutely, those are the muscles, I think. When we read all this stuff about EQ and self-awareness, it's coming from the same place, that need to be very highly aware of you and the impact of you on others in a moment, and being able to learn and grow in a healthy way constantly, instead of the old model, which was, I have a title, I've reached this position, now everybody around me treats me according to that. That's just not how the world works anymore.
We should do a second one, Matt.
So I guess that was my long lead in to say we've scratched the surface. Literally. I think there's a ton more to talk about. You are a delight and brilliant and generous, and I'm grateful for the gift of getting to spend some time with you today.
You too.
Let's close this episode out. I think we've got your commitment to do it again.
Yeah.
Will you come back?
I wholeheartedly believe in improv and leadership and storytelling and leadership. It's just so valuable. And you're the man to kind of get some sense out of me.
Well, there's been a lot of sense. Let's leave people with one final gift. And what do you want to say? What do you want to say to everybody to how they can find some joy this week?
This week, obviously, the cooking show on Sunday, but Perfect Liars Club will be online. First time. Super excited about that. On Friday, the 24th of April, go to the Perfect Liars Club Facebook page and register so that you can come and join the live Q&A so that I keep the riffraff out.
Right. Yeah. Everyone's learning about Zoom privacy settings now. Yeah. So you're talking about Perfect Liars Club, and this is the Tokyo edition. Perfect Liars is a global sort of franchise, right? And I got to do it one time. It was a blast. For people who don't know, Perfect Liars.
Awesome.
Oh, thank you.
You were great.
It was amazing how vulnerable that was to do it. But it was such a good experience. Anyway, and thank you for the opportunity. I just want to say for listeners, check out Perfect Liars Club just generally as a theme, because it's a really great format. And actually, you could recreate Perfect Liars in a team building workshop, I think, pretty effectively. It would be a great team building thing. If you want to know more about that, Christiane Brew can help you put that together. She can even, I know for a fact, we haven't even talked about this, I know that you could do a virtual Perfect Liars that would be brilliant for your team as well. So reach out to me, reach out to Christiane. We can help you kind of get that going.
That's a great idea.
Oh, it's so beautiful for the online platform.
Yeah.
Because you've got, I mean, it can work. So it's 4 stories. One of them is a complete fabrication.
Yep.
And the audience has to guess who is lying, who is the perfect liar. Yep. And the audience, Christiane, what does the audience do?
The audience have to vote.
Yeah.
They interrogate and then they vote on who the liar is. And then at the end, when they get it wrong, which is usual, they lose their shit. But they love it.
That's what I learned from you, that the audience always gets it wrong. The vast majority don't know who the liar was. And that's the fun part about it.
Yep. They've got it right before, and the energy feels disappointed. It's bizarre. And yet when they get it wrong, it's explosive. And there's videos of me at every single reveal where I just burst inside because the amount of energy and joy that comes out at that reveal it keeps me going. Wonderful.
I'm telling you, if you lead a team and you want that team to be engaged, you want to pull the creativity out of people who maybe don't speak up, in group meetings, you have brilliance on your team that's untapped. And one of the ways is, no matter how good of a meeting facilitator you are, people are all individual and they're different, and you don't see their brilliance unless they are put in a situation that lets them shine in a way that they feel empowered to do it. And I think Perfect Liar's format for some people is a brilliant way to get something out of someone that you may not get out of them otherwise. And you know what? Especially now, but even without all this craziness, this is what leading in a dynamic environment where you've got to constantly innovate and constantly change quickly. This is how you do it, I think. So I'd like to work with you to help bring this to more people and more business leaders to see the value in bringing this into their leadership, mindset and their toolkit.
Yeah. I love this topic, and I love you. So I think it's, and I have a little bit of time on my hands at the moment. So.
Really? I thought you'd be world traveling by now. I hear that all the airplanes are empty. Well, thank you, Christiane. If you want to find some joy this week, check out Perfect Liars Club. Look up Tokyo, though, because you're going to be doing the online editions, and Christiane does a great job with that. Check out Christiane Brew on Facebook. Sunday nights, Tokyo time. That's early morning, East Coast U.S. It's sort of... morning for the UK. Back home in England. Yeah. So if you're in the UK and you want to start your day in the kitchen baking with Christiane, do that. And then, of course, they're recorded and posted. The whole recording is available afterward.
Yeah, on Facebook and YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So go to that. You'll find some joy. Bring some people together, family, friends, colleagues, around something fun that allows people to express some part of themselves that they maybe haven't been able to in the past. And we've learned some techniques for doing that. Thank you so much, Christiane. And
thank you, Matt Stone. I've had a joyful morning with you.
You've brought me great joy, and I hope we bring some joy to some other people too. All right, we'll see you again soon.
All right.
Thanks
Ciao,
for
Nara.
listening. Ciao, Nara.
Ciao, Nara, big banana.